Today's guest got involved with the Walk to End Alzheimer's in about 2014 when her own mother was diagnosed with this tragic disease. She lived about 2 miles away from her, and she saw her daily, as often as she could, singing songs and helping guide her through this journey. Unfortunately, her lovely mother passed away in 2023, and she has dedicated her time to educating others working with the Alzheimer's Association. Today, Vivian is going to talk with us about the 10 warning signs to dementia and Alzheimer's. So stay tuned to this episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. In today's world, older adults face major transitions like downsizing, relocating, or modifying their homes to age in place, all while embracing life after these changes. As a senior home advisor and seasoned realtor, Robin McCoy guides these decisions with care and thoughtful planning, helping create a vibrant future. Welcome to Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 with me, your host, Robin McCoy. Vivian, thank you so much for being on the show today. This is going to be like uber important for people I know.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm just going to go ahead and apologize in advance if my security system should go off. He does that, and there it is.
That's just that's just the nature of these things, isn't it? It's just fine. Well, Viv, I know I've known you for a while. We met each other through the American Businesswomen's Association, and I don't know, somehow we got something crossed. I don't know what it was when I said I need to have her on the podcast. And so now here you are. And you've been through it. We're talking about Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that. And you have been in the trenches through it. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because you have that perspective and what it's like to be that person, that daughter, that caregiver, and then what you're doing now to just kind of, keep Alzheimer's in the forefront of everybody's, pardon the pun, but everybody's memory.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I retired in 2023, and I knew there were several things I wanted to do. Primarily, I wanted to continue to learn, and I wanted to be of service. And I can only be of service with what I've experienced. I can only share my experiences. And so one thing I did was reach out to the Alzheimer's Association and became a community educator, which means that I go around to places providing presentations. There is almost a dozen different presentations that we have on hand ready to go. And my experience, and one reason that, I wanted to do this is my mama was diagnosed, I want to say it was about 2014 or 15 when a doctor said, you know, but at that point they could not really say it was Alzheimer's. They could say it, by process of deduction, it's probably
Yeah.
Alzheimer's. And so we knew that. And then my stepdaddy, he passed away in 2016. So then I had to make decisions about what was the best thing for Mama, and moved her up to Frisco here. And so we took that journey together. And honestly, I'm just going to say we made the very best of every minute.
Well, you
Yeah.
know what I'm going to say? I saw you guys making the very best of that, via social media and things like that. And I think you brought a lot of people along with you in that, and I think that was what was so touching about it. And that you were able to show you and your mother's relationship, and as this disease progressed and what that started to look like for you and for her, and you just really, you brought it home. You brought it home to where people could say that could be me and my mama,
Yeah. Yeah.
or it
And
is me and my mama, or my
right.
daddy or something. So Kind of
right?
tell me a little bit what that kind of felt like. When the diagnosis and then you had to be the caregiver. And I mean, did you know what the hell you were doing, or were you just winging it at that point?
Yeah, I never even had children, so I didn't know how to take care of anything other than dogs, right? This was a whole new thing for me. I do remember when they did tell us. I mean, we all suspected, which is why these 10 warning signs is important.
Yeah,
And but we all suspected, but still, when she was diagnosed, I was so upset. I bawled.
sure.
And I remember distinctly her saying, "Well, baby, I wasn't ever going to live forever," which was just something. And you know, and I could go off on a whole bunch of different tangents. In navigating my way through being her advocate,
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know, I had to learn, and I did depend a lot on the Alzheimer's Association and support groups and information that I would find to help direct me. And no, in March, I'm doing a thing for a community where I'm going to talk about what it was like trying to find a place, find the right place
the right place for
for
her to
her.
live.
Yeah. And so that, and actually even talking about trying to find a place for Mama and Glenn, my stepdaddy, when it was time to get them to independent, and
Yeah.
whatnot, and work our way through that. Um, but, a lot of it was about being her advocate. And because she couldn't speak, I would never let her have a doctor's visit where I wasn't there.
Right.
Even during the pandemic, I had, an echo show in there or whatever I would drop in so that I could speak on her behalf.
Sure.
And, there were a few trips to the ER. And, they're just doing what they're supposed to do. She had a mini stroke, and they're like, oh, we're going to have to send her to rehab. And I'm like, you think? No. Rehab, we are past the stage of relearning things,
Yeah.
um, and trying to prevent them from doing things that would just upset her and were pointless.
Well, because that's also something to note is people with, the various forms of dementia, when you make sudden changes with them or things they don't understand and hospital visits and strangers and all these things can be, while it might be traumatic to the average person, it's just elevated
Oh
with
my
these folks.
goodness, so overwhelming,
Yeah.
so overwhelming. I like my friend that I was telling you about who is about to move is just so upset. I just don't know how to console her. I will tell you this though, in moving and changing, once we got Mama settled in to where she lived at memory care, which was just 2 miles from my house, they wanted to move her to another room. And so I made the mistake of telling her this. And we would work on jigsaw puzzles every day after work. And I would come home and that jigsaw puzzle would be boxed up because she was getting ready to move. You know?
Okay.
So you never know what they're going to hang on to,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And and a lot of the times I compared it to being on a plane and you encounter turbulence. We're grooving along just fine, working on our puzzle, listening to our old songs. And she would look at me, I'll never forget it. You never do. The first time she was like, you know, who are you to me?
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
just, oh,
Stab,
but
stab, stab.
yeah, you know, you just have to go with it and save the tears till you get home.
Well, and the truth is, she knew that you were someone to her.
Yeah.
And I heard another story similar to that, where a, a gentleman was coming to see his wife in memory care, and he was saying, I don't even know why I come. She doesn't know who I am. And the caregiver said, do you hear what she's humming? And she would hum, I love you a bushel and a peck. Remember that song?
Yeah.
And he goes, sure. And we used to dance to that song and sing it to each other. And the caregiver said she only hums that when you're in the room.
Oh,
So she knows you're here. She knows you're important. And so why don't you dance with her? And he danced with her. And my friend who was
oh
the
my
caregiver
goodness.
just, and him
Oh,
too, because he realized that while she may not be able to say you are Steve, my husband,
yeah,
she knew. And that's kind of that same thing with your
yeah,
mom. It's like she knows you're important to her,
yeah,
and she
yeah.
knows she loves you and you care about her. She just
Right,
can't put them together.
right. And that kind of leads me in the direction. I know we're going to get to the 10
Yes,
warning
we
signs,
are.
but music,
Okay.
music memory is one of the last things to go. And when Mama lived over here at the cottages, I would started playing the piano on Sunday mornings, and we would have Sunday morning sing-alongs. And then I had a book of contemporary stuff, and by contemporary I mean Bushel and a Peck, and
Yeah.
and You Are My Sunshine, and those kind of songs. And there were so many. There were many people that may not be able to be even verbal, but when I put on music or I start playing and we start singing, it wakes them up, you know. And I still play the piano there every Sunday morning,
I love
you
that.
know.
I love that.
It it's because I just love seeing them engaged,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
And
Yeah.
that's what does it is you know and well, and they talked a while back, and I guess they're still doing that, is trying to get people to donate old like iPods and those
Mm,
music things so that they could load up the music from this person's generation,
right.
so that because when they listen to it, even though they, like you said, are nonverbal and they're just kind of, but that would get some, it would send some signals as things would start firing off
Okay.
again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
It really
huge.
does have an impact. And so that's
Yeah.
why I use music to engage,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
So, well, let's get to our top 10 warning signs. So that's what
Okay.
we're going to talk about. So she's going to let us know some of the warning signs that, and what I learned from Teepa Snow was the individual themselves may know some of this is going on, and they hide it really, really, really well in these early stages. And they are really good, especially if they have a spouse or a partner working as a team to keep things on the down low, so maybe you, the daughter, don't see it right
Right.
away.
Right. Covering for each other because they don't want change
Yeah.
or reaction.
Right.
So,
So
what I'm going to talk about and what I hope to help you guys today with is maybe to be able to understand the difference between typical age-related memory, thinking, and behavior versus, Alzheimer and dementia, because Alzheimer's is actually just one type of dementia. And And if we have time, I'll talk about tips for approaching someone about your concerns and also the importance of early detection and the benefits of that. And yeah, and I also want to tell you about some resources. So, the
perfect.
very first warning sign I would say is memory loss that disrupts daily life. One of the most common signs is forgetting recently learned information, um, like forgetting important dates or events. And here's one that was really a sign for us: repeatedly asking the same questions over and over. Where are we going? Where's my purse? Right? That is definitely a big sign for many. And increasingly relying on memory aids or leaning on others for things or tasks that you once handled on your own. Now, a typical age related change is forgetting information but remembering it later.
Okay.
So if you could, like, I ran into this lady at the grocery store this past Sunday, and I know her last name, and I was just like, I could not remember her first name. And it wasn't until Monday that I remembered it. you know, but it did come. But there are typical age-related changes, which is what I hope I'm experiencing
Yeah.
at 65, you know.
Right.
But if I walk in, if I can't find my keys, and I just can't find my keys, and maybe I think someone stole them or I just lost them, that's one thing. But if I lost my keys and go back to the fact that when I came into the house, the phone was ringing, so maybe I, retrace my steps, then that might be more age related,
Right.
right?
Right. Because you can
And
work your
then,
way like through it. Wait, well, I had my
well,
keys because I got in the house, or had my keys because I drove into the driveway. I
right,
just got out of the car. So if they're in the car, to
yeah,
somewhere between the car and right here, so
right,
you can work
yeah,
through it. But
yeah,
when you start, so you're saying, but when somebody says my keys are gone, and I know that the lawn guy was here and he stole my keys,
right. And they're just
that's
gone, and
and they're
I
just
just can't.
gone, and
Yeah,
the lawn guy
and
was here.
right, and particularly that repeating questions over and over. That was a sure sign. Or saying the same thing frequently. You know, I mean, like in a city,
Yeah.
in a given city. Um, the second one would be challenges in planning or solving problems, like that executive functioning, developing or creating a plan, or difficulty concentrating. Right now, mind you, I do need background stuff kind of away to concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to concentrate on a conversation in a loud restaurant.
Yeah, it is.
Um, but typical age related changes like making occasional errors when managing your bills or balancing your checkbook,
Right.
right? I mean, we make errors or typos, so to speak. Um, and then number three is difficulty completing familiar tasks, certain things that I do every day with ease, unloading the dishwasher, right? Or doing laundry, or driving to a familiar place, or making my grocery list, or remembering how to play a favorite game. I remember one time I got a call. Mama used to go on occasion to this place called Maple Shade Spa, which was on Preston. And I get a call from Maple Shade Spa asking if I know where my mom's at because her appointment was at 1 and she hadn't showed up. And they tried to call my stepdaddy and couldn't reach him. He had let her go by herself because he was still, optimistic, and she got lost and came home, found her way home. So, or now sometimes I will tell you this, they used to come over every Sunday and we would play board games, phase 10, Mexican train dominoes, whatever. And Mama would use the excuse of, well, I have Alzheimer's. I don't remember how to play, to cheat. So, just know that as well.
Playing the Alzheimer's card.
Yes, she would. She would. Um,
That's funny.
So sometimes, though, a typical age-related change could be needing help with, say, the remote,
Right.
right? When you have
Right.
one of those fancy remotes and which buttons to push and the newer technology and how to use she who will not be named because she won't do,
She will
if I
start
say
announcing things.
right. Um, you know, but I do remember that Mama would try and use her phone as a remote and the remote as her phone, because they look kind of the same. And then the fourth one would be confusion with time or place. So somebody with dementia may lose track of what dates, what seasons, passage of time, things like Christmas or Easter become meaningless, they may have trouble understanding something if it's not in the moment. That was one thing that I learned was really not to talk to Mama about what we're going to do, or that
Okay.
what we're going to do tomorrow, what we're going to do for dinner, what we're going to do, coming up. Stay in the moment. One of the best things I learned from her was to stay where my feet are, you
Okay.
know, and
Talk about what you're doing right now
right now. hmm
so that
Because
because explain that a little bit because thinking forward,
because
they just lose their
some,
way.
thinking forward kind of stresses them, and the fact that, oh, well, I've got this coming up and I need to da 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 da, and kind of sends them a bit into a twirl, you
Okay.
know.
I would imagine maybe
Or
like we're going to go on Sunday, we're going to go to lunch. And it's Thursday, but now they think we need to go get ready because we're going to lunch now.
right,
We're going to be late for
exactly
lunch.
that.
We're going to lunch.
Right, just like the packing up of the jigsaw puzzle thing that I
Yes,
told you
yes.
about. When I told Mama we were going to be moving, right, and to a different apartment, and every night I would come home from work, and she would have packed up the jigsaw puzzle we'd been working on because it was time to move.
Yeah.
So,
Got it.
um, so I try to stay out of the future, right? So, and stay in the now. And they may be confused about where they are or how they got there, particularly if it's not someplace familiar. You know, if you have to take a trip to the ER or a trip to the doctor, why am I here? What are they going to do to me? Right?
Right.
And that can be very, very profound and dramatic, And so that is one thing. And, a typical age-related change might be forgetting about a scheduled appointment, but
Right.
remembering it later,
Right. Like, oh
you know.
shoot, I'm supposed to be at lunch today. Oh shoot. Okay.
Right. Right. Now, mind you, and I'm going to say this, and this is just my personal opinion. I have become so reliant on my reminders and my
Oh, me too.
calendar and things on my phone that it makes me wonder, and we all have, right?
Yeah.
Many of us
Yes.
have, that, and I don't have to memorize anyone's phone numbers anymore.
I know, right?
Right? I could
Right?
not tell you my husband's cell phone number unless put my feet to the fire. And it makes me wonder if just like skills that you don't use, you lose,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that it's important to continue trying to work on our memory.
Well, and I
Regard.
have a friend who was a nurse for a long time, and she was in went to the doc, or she was with the doctor. They were making rounds.
Hmm.
Went in with a woman who had some dementia. It was early on, but she was
Hmm.
reading, and she was very proud that she was reading, and she could read, and she reads a lot. And my mother reads like 4 or 5 books a week, and the doctor said that's great. However, you need to do some different things, like because you already know how to read. So maybe some crossword puzzles, maybe some word seeks, maybe card games, so that it keeps your brain moving
Hmm.
and learning because reading is great and reading is important, but let's have our brain just do a little something else
Yeah,
too.
because you do need to stretch your
Yes.
brain. You do
Yeah.
need to. I mean, one thing I've heard is learning a new language, things like that. And I have a million different little apps to work on memory,
Yeah.
and those things, memory in my brain, because it's important to me,
Well,
you know.
and it should be, right? Because
Yeah,
that's very close to you.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's right
yeah.
here,
Right, right. And
you know.
trying to stay active in things.
Yeah.
Um, so I joined the Frisco Chorale. Speaking of that, the Frisco Chorale, so that, well, because it's fun and I love to sing, but it's challenging,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yes, I know music, but all I remember from college is a Picardy third, and what that sounds like, which, um, but it's really challenging. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. We Are One Heart is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to bridging the gap between the needs and resources of low income seniors and veterans. Rooted in compassion and love, our mission is to provide housing, living assistance, and access to critical resources that ensure dignity and support for the elderly in underserved communities. At the heart of We Are One Heart's work is the belief that every individual shares a common humanity, a heart connected through love and care. We are committed to creating a future that honors those who have shaped the past by offering programs and services that enhance their quality of life. For more information or to donate, visit WA1HC.org. WA1H.org. That's WA, the number one, H.org.
So number five is trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. Like they may have vision problems which can frequently lead to difficulty with balance or trouble reading or judging distance or determining color and contrast, which can impact driving, right?
Right.
Or navigating the environment around them. Um, you know, uh, Now, vision changes such as cataracts are much more typical age related,
Right.
right? I mean, I think it's like a rite of passage to turning 65. Um, but not only that, but also hearing
Yeah.
loss as
Yes.
well. So it's not just about memory, it is also about like your aging and the way that your daily life is impacted by your balance, right? And things like that, and your vision. So I think it's important to if have cataracts taken care of, get hearing aids if you need them, because it will have an overall impact on your spatial relationships and your balance issues, and you don't want to fall.
No, a fall can be the game changer
Yes,
in so many ways.
yes,
So
yes.
many ways. And I didn't know until a friend of mine was talking about how hearing can increase the onset of dementia. That she was losing her hearing at a younger age,
Hmm.
due to something else, right? Just
Right.
something else. But her vanity would not allow her to get hearing aids. And that's fair. She was like in her 50s, 40s, 50s, that's fair. But then she started doing she was researching dementia, and she works in senior caregiving and all these things. And she learned that not getting hearing aids could be elevating her potential for dementia. And she was getting hearing aids the next day. She goes, vanity be damned. Who cares? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it can, and it makes sense, because now
Hmm.
you're only hearing every third word or something, and you're kind of
Right,
making up what else is going on in a conversation or what you're
right.
hearing.
And
And
you're withdrawing
yes.
from the
Yes.
conversation as well.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
a lot of time that happens too in dementia. They
yeah.
socially withdraw because they're not sure about what to say, or
Yeah. Or
yeah,
they're just
because
missing part of it, or they're not keeping up with the conversation.
yeah,
And so
right,
they just
yeah,
stop
yeah. So they
participating.
become reticent to even speak.
Yeah.
Um, the sixth sign is problems with words in speaking or writing. Now, this, you know, you may have trouble following or joining a conversation, which is what we were just saying, right? Or stop in the middle of a conversation and forget what they were talking about. Now, frequently, if I'm in the middle of a train of thought and I get interrupted, it may be gone, whatever it was.
Sure.
I told my husband just the other day, he was like, "You wanted something?" I was like, "Yeah, but I do not remember for the life of me what it was."
Well, it's the
So,
whole, why am I in this room?
what? Yeah, exactly,
Why am I in here?
exactly,
Because you're
and
talking
that
on the phone
happens.
and you're trying to do the laundry, and then the something's beeping in the kitchen, and now you're just
Yeah,
like, what am I doing?
right, right.
Right?
So often the why did I come in here, right? That happens a lot, and that is like a normal sign of aging.
Right.
But if they continuously repeat themselves or cannot maybe eventually get to that right word, and to me, Dumaflachi is a perfectly acceptable word for everything. You know, uh, or when they call things by the wrong name, you know, sometimes,
So,
and
like,
can't get
literally the wrong name. Instead of calling the TV, they call it the table.
right, right. And I was doing something. I was working on props for a show, and I was said something, and I meant to say blanket, and I said something else, and And I realized it about 5 minutes later that I called this item the wrong thing. So I'm hoping that's age related. But, at least they were both warm, fuzzy things that,
So it was close.
right. But we start to use more descriptive terms to talk about something rather than call out the actual item,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
the thing that controls the TV, the thing that heats the food, instead of trying to get there. Now, eventually, I might get to word. I will forget words. I'll be like, I'm trying to say something or explain something, and the word just is gone
Yeah.
for the minute.
It's
But
on
it
the
might
tip of
come
my
back.
tongue. I can't say
Yeah,
it.
exactly. But, so it says that a normal age-related change is occasionally having trouble finding the right word. Um, the other thing for me is like movie titles or show names of shows. I'm like, oh, we went and saw this show last weekend. It's it was um it was the one where the guy in college, he gets with his father's friend's wife, but I could not for the life of me come up to the graduate. Um so we do that a lot. So that a warning sign is not being able, once again, age related, that happens occasionally, right? But not being able to eventually get there,
Yeah.
right?
And I would imagine that if it happens often, not occasionally,
Right,
and
right,
trying and understanding the difference between occasionally and often,
right.
right? And
Exactly.
what is
Yeah,
occasion, is it
yeah,
twice a day or is it twice a week? You know?
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And is it consistent? Is it
Yeah.
consistent? Have we completely lost the word for remote? You know? Um, and then another thing, number 7, is misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace steps.
Okay. So like we were
We
talking
all
about before.
misplace things,
Sure.
right? Just like we talked about with the keys, right? If you can kind of retrace your steps back to finding the thing that you lost, then that's normal. But if you cannot even begin to retrace your steps or put together some kind of logic of why, where you put something. Or there's putting things in unusual places, putting your tennis shoes in the fridge, you know, um, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like it's just, well, and I guess it really is this. It's the connections aren't being made because now my tennis shoes are in the fridge and the milk is in the closet.
Right. Yeah. Because I'm
I'm not
losing those
putting and
connections of,
and I can't call this milk. I've lost the word for milk,
hmm
and so I'm calling it tennis shoes.
right,
And I know tennis shoes go in the closet.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of a sign. Losing that executive function and awareness, they might even become increasingly suspicious of others or accusing others of stealing and do that more often over time,
Yeah.
you
I've
know.
heard a lot of that, and where my mother lives, there was a woman there for a while who her dementia was rather advanced and she was convinced that she was being held against her will. She would call
Mhm.
911 and say they have locked me in here and they got to get out. I need to get to my family. They need me. I would be there to see my mom and she would be, you need to help me. And I would say, and I knew her, I had met her daughter. So I was like, look, Pamela will help you. Call,
Mhm.
will she? Will she? Yes, she will. Why don't you call your daughter and she'll be able to. But she was
Right.
repeatedly convinced that she was being held against her will.
Oh yeah. And that is frequent when someone is moved into
Mm-hmm.
memory care. Matter of fact, there was a lady where I played the piano who was telling me her car was stolen. Could I help her find her car?
Yeah.
And I said, and pivot. We've already got the police looking for it, and we will check in on them once we finish playing these songs, right? Never say your car was not stolen, you know.
Right. Right.
But, and with women, I think frequently it's that, where's my purse,
Mm.
right? How much do we rely on
Yeah.
our purse?
Yeah.
My
Because
whole identity is in my purse.
yeah. Yeah. Well, we never leave the house without it or in some
Right,
form of it, right?
right, right. Um, and number 8 is decreased or poor judgment. Making bad decisions, um, such as dealing with money. And this is where I can go into, those spammers, those
Yeah.
frauders that
Yeah.
target
Ugh.
our our older population,
Yeah.
you know? And they may see some infomercial on whatever, YouTube, whatever, and all of a sudden they need that supplement.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's going to help them live longer.
Right, right, and take care of their brain problems. I have a friend who told me her mother is constantly ordering stuff from these supplements and things like that from, these fraudulent places.
Yeah.
Um, and those phone calls and oh my goodness, so you have to be very what's the word? There it is. There, diligent. Diligent is the word in trying to keep your loved ones safe from
Yes.
that kind of activity. Monitor the checkbook, right? Um, and or paying less attention to hygiene and grooming. And this one surprised me. I didn't realize that, but you know, if you think about it, brushing your teeth, we just think about brush your teeth, get the toothbrush, do this. But when you have dementia, there's a lot of steps
Yeah.
involved,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? In brushing your teeth or taking a shower. And mama did not like to take a shower. So I would need to try and turn it into a spa experience, you know, to be helpful, like the candles, but there's a whole presentation about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the things, those hygiene things and cleaning things, right? The like if you came to my house and you saw clutter everywhere, you would know something was wrong with me,
Right. Right.
you know. Um, but that the tasks that seem so simple, like as one step that we don't really think
Yeah.
about,
Because it's so
right?
habitual too, right? You go and
Right,
brush your teeth or you comb your hair. You put your
right.
socks on, whatever that,
Uh-huh.
it's just
And so
habitual.
when you're helping somebody, you have to break it down to individual little baby steps to make it digestible for them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to help them.
Mhm.
So when they are living on their own still and cannot handle all of the complications of housework, decluttering, showering, brushing their teeth, that is a sign, you know,
Yeah.
if that's the case. Or you see that they have bought whatever crazy subscription
Yeah.
or thing.
Yeah.
Um, so especially in people that live alone, like we were talking about earlier, when it's a couple, they will frequently kind of cover for each
Yeah.
other, so
Yeah.
to speak,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and number 9, we had talked about that is withdrawal from work or social activities.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes as we age, it's normal, I guess, to feel uninterested by family or social engagements at times. So I've heard. I'm not ready for that
You're
yet,
not there
but
yet.
not there yet. But for someone who has experienced dementia-related changes, they may, like we said earlier, lose that ability to hold or follow a conversation and begin withdrawing from social encounters or hobbies, or lose that confidence to engage,
Yeah.
right? That confidence to engage. And I know for Mama and Glenn, they were very active. They were in the Power Squadron. They taught boating, safe boating. They did this, they did that. Mama worked on genealogy. they had outings and stuff, went to the theater with me all the time. But as their health was failing, they were isolating in their house.
Yeah.
And the only socialization was us kids coming over or
Going
family
over there.
gathering.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot of trouble and effort for Glenn, I think, to get Mama dressed and out,
Yeah.
you know, somewhere. And then she didn't know how to talk to these people because even though she knew them, she couldn't remember them.
Yeah.
So, uh, side trail, um, moving them into independent living really broadened or gave them back that social.
Because it
Um,
was right there. It's a little closer. You don't have to get in the car and drive, even two
yeah,
miles or 5 miles down the road and then get out of the car and then go into the
right.
place and
Yeah,
all those
yeah,
steps again,
right.
you were talking about. We say just come
Mhm.
on over.
Right.
But then it's getting dressed, getting your shoes on, getting in the car, driving over, getting out of the
Uh-huh.
car, walking up the sidewalk, through the door. I mean, that
Right.
was just
It's a
like eight
whole lot
things
of
right there.
stuff. Yeah. And when they were living in their independent living, I loved to go hang out with them because there was what I called the bistro bunch. All these people, they were always hanging out in what they called the bistro. There was always coffee and cookies, and they would tell the best stories. And so for them, moving to independent living gave them back that
Mhm.
social engagement. So
Yeah.
that was a side quest,
But
if you
that's
will.
good. No, because I think that's important too. Because when we talk about our parents or even ourselves, and we don't want to go into one of those places, and I know, our parents' generation just always thought of them as nursing homes. You're not going to
Right,
put me in a nursing home
right.
because that's what they were when they were growing up. And they're much
Hmm.
different now with places like independent living and those sorts of things. And I think
Right.
people fear so much of losing their independence that they will not. I know in my mother's case, that's not even going to be considered.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Hmm.
No, you're not putting me in a nursing home with those old people.
Right. Right.
I'm like,
Right.
Mom, you're 85. I don't care, Robin. I'm not going to a nursing home. Well, and her grandfather and her father died in a nursing home. So there's these
Sure.
preconceived
Yeah.
ideas about what, and that's their experience, right?
Right.
Add on dementia, which gratefully my mother does not have, but add that onto a situation. Now it's even bigger, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And and oh, one of these days I'll tell you about the move. But you know, and what I experienced with independent living, it's like, dang, you don't have to cook, you don't have to clean,
That's what I'm thinking. When do I get to move in?
you got free entertainment, you know. I'm like, when do I get to move?
I know somebody will come in and clean my place. They will cook me
Yeah,
food and I can come and go as I please. I'm
right.
all for it.
It's like a cruise ship without water.
Yes. Yes. Somebody convince me I'm wrong. Tell me less. I'm coming.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's that. And then number 10 is changes in mood and personality. And, individuals with Alzheimer's or other dementia, they become confused, suspicious, depressed. Oh, my friend that was recently diagnosed is just so horribly depressed,
Oh, so sad.
fearful, anxious, because what's the future going to bring,
Yeah.
right? They may get easily upset at home or when outside of their comfort zone, So, as we get older, it's normal to get very set in our ways. I am. Um, and maybe get irritable if my routine is disrupted or you don't load the
I do that.
dishwasher right. You
I'm like,
know?
wait, what? What? We're not going there at this time? It was on my
Right.
calendar that we were.
That's right. That is right. We got to stick to the plan.
Yes.
But someone with Alzheimer's can easily become fearful, angry, and frustrated, which is something that, needs to be addressed. And now I was really fortunate that, this sounds awful, but I would describe Mama as a happy drunk for the most part. you know? I mean, it was always, she was always just, fun and funny and loving and that way.
That's awesome.
But as the disease progressed, and they tell you about things that people with Alzheimer's, like this anger thing. Well, imagine my shock when I got a call from memory care that my mama had slapped a lady.
What?
What? What? And it was all about sitting in her place at the table,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But these things happen. And I
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
see my mama get dark, you know, get
Yeah.
that's all
Yeah.
best way I can describe it,
Yeah.
in um a given time or, with things going on. I could see her kind of close down and shut down and get,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Well, and they, and it's very unfortunate, and it's indicative of this disease that people do get combative. And they do get and some of the things that Teepa Snow, I just refer to her because she is the absolute expert in
hmm
this field of Alzheimer's and dementias. And she was saying how, and you were saying before how when with this disease, your vision, it's not just cataracts and bad vision, your vision changes and your peripheral vision closes, and then you get this kind of cone vision. So imagine you can't see except like this if you put your hands up, and then all of a sudden somebody's like right here and they come at you, and
hmm
you're going to be startled, you're going to be combative, you're going to be like, whoa, what are you doing? And
right,
now you're considered combative when, in fact, if you had just circled around and approached them from the front, they would have seen
hmm
you coming.
right,
So it's understanding what the physical manifestations are of
hmm
this disease, not just what's happening in the brain,
right,
but what's happening everywhere else, too.
right. hmm hmm So those are the 10 warning signs.
All right. Well, thank you, Vivian. And thank you, folks, for tuning in to another episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. Make sure, please, that you subscribe and share this episode because it is so very, very, very important. And we'll see you next time on Relax, I Got This. Thank you for joining me on Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. I know that time is our greatest asset, and I appreciate the time that you spend with me. If you're finding the information on this podcast useful, please subscribe to the channel on your favorite platform so that you never miss another episode. Don't forget to go to our website where you will find additional resources, downloads, and coaching programs. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60.